wheels on my first drive home. Hello and welcome to what I believe might just be the greatest dad car in the world. It's also the Ferrari bargain of the decade right now, and it's no longer the ticking time bomb of financial ruin that you think it is. Look, let's get into it. My name's Ben and welcome to Dadcars. Right, so in this video, we're going to be taking a deep dive into the practicality of the Ferrari FF. What are those rear seats like? Then I'm going to talk about the running costs and those nightmare, horrible horror stories you've heard about big bills and the Ferrari FF. And then, as always, me and my daughter are going to take this out for a drive and see if it feels like a proper Ferrari. But first, let's talk about the controversial looks of the Ferrari FF. And it was a big departure from the normal four-seater V12 Ferraris of old. I mean, think of the 456 and the 612 Scaglietti. You know, they managed to sort of maintain that more traditional sort of sweeping Super GT look at the back here. And full disclosure, when these were first launched in 2011, I remember saying myself that this is simply just the most expensive hatchback in the world. But never in my life have I known a car where the phrase, pictures don't do it justice, you've got to see it in person, apply more so than with the Ferrari FF. In pictures, particularly from the side, it looks really slab-sided. What you don't get to see is these really muscular shoulders. The view from the rear is 100% supercar. And had they made this roofline here, cut a more sort of sleek, design-focused line, I don't think this would have been a Marmite car at all. However, having this more unusual and unique shape here to the back makes this a proper four-seater in theory. So let's get in the back and see what those rear seats are like. Right, so the first thing you notice is these doors are huge. It might be the longest doors I've ever seen. Right, but that does mean getting in the back. Wow, that is so easy. Oh, look at this. Oh, the smell of that Italian leather. Oh, this is insane. Look at that. I mean, I'm sitting down ever so slightly. I think if I sat right back, yeah, look, my head is touching ever so slightly there on the roofline. But I'm 5'11" and very long a torso. But, oh, this is so comfortable. These seats are lovely. Look, got a cubby hole here for sweeties. Charging port. Oh, cup holders down here. But let's see what the leg room is like back here. Well, that's the driver's seat in its sort of preset position. So I'm very happy to confirm that the Ferrari FF is not a 2+2. It is a proper four-seater. Probably the most special four-seater I've ever been in. Oh, the armrest there's really nice as well. This is so comfortable. I could sit back here on a 3-4 hour drive down to Cornwall quite happily, very happily. So obviously the driver and passenger seats are quite low down, as you would expect from a sports car. But these rear seats, they are actually positioned a bit higher up. Now the good thing about that is it means that if you've got children sat back here, they've got more chance of being able to sort of see what's going on, which is actually really lovely for children. And look, I've just spotted the ISOFIX tags. Oh, this is so exciting. Right, so let's see what child seats you can fit in the back of your FF. Right, so first up is the ISOFIX base. Pushing in something with metal teeth through some Italian leather. Oh God, this is a bit stressful, but I always take great care. Right, there we go. That took me a bit longer than normal. I was just being so delicate. Okay, let's have a look at the rear facing baby seat. So the first test really with two-door cars is how easily can you get it in. Let's imagine that there is a baby in this already. And yeah, I reckon you could get a baby into the back whilst it was in there sleeping. Right, moment of truth. Will the passenger seat go back? Right, let's move it back into a position which would be comfortable for an adult and see. Okay, so I've stopped the seat there where I can get my fingers between the child seat and the passenger seat. Let's have a look. Right, so what I've done is I've actually moved this passenger seat right down and positioned it so there's still decent space behind, but I've got plenty of legroom here and headspace. I mean, if I was doing this in a 911 from 991 generation onwards, you know, my head would be hitting up here, but yeah, this is really good, really comfortable. So if you are carrying a baby behind you, your passenger won't be compromised at all in a Ferrari FF. Right, and here I've got a full-size Isofix child seat. God, this is terrifying. Oh, this is absolutely terrifying. I do not want to mark this beautiful Italian leather. It might sound extreme, but honestly, the mechanisms on Isofix are really vicious sometimes. They can come shooting out, and it's obviously, you know, metal teeth that come out. Yeah, so it is a bit stressful sometimes doing this. It's in. That took me forever. Let me have a look at how long that took me. Nearly 10 minutes that took me to get in really carefully. But yeah, look, here we go. A full-size 5-point harness, forward-facing Isofix child seat.
The owner of this car kindly offered to inspect this centre armrest just to see if I could get a free across seating or not. But sadly, as expected, it is a proper transmission tunnel. Also, unfortunately, you cannot switch the passenger side airbag off in an FF. But I do think a front-facing child seat in the passenger side, although it's not advisable, you would be able to move the seat far enough back.
Right, so it passes the Dadcars boot test, kind of unsurprisingly, I suppose. But look, I've got a folding buggy in here as well. And even though it's kind of got this kind of 2 levels in the boot here because of, I believe, the fuel tank here, still a very good and very usable boot. And obviously these rear seats fold down as well. It's quite nice in there, actually.
But is it really possible for a car with this level of practicality to drive and feel like a proper Ferrari? Let's find out.
Oh, look, it presents the seatbelt to me. That's very kind. And the steering wheel comes down into its preferred position. Oh, this is so special, isn't it? Are you excited?
That little thingy gave you the seatbelt.
I know. Normally you pass me the seatbelt, but you don't need to in your FF. The FF itself gives you the seatbelt. Whoa! Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Oh, goodness me. This is so exciting, isn't it, Pickle? Yeah. First time you've ever been out in a Ferrari. Right, now let's try and manoeuvre, do a 3-point turn here. We're in a bit of a funny spot, which is probably a good time to talk about the size of this thing. Right, we did it. That's our first challenge. Right, we'll let this tractor go. Oh, you want to come down here? Oh, this is a nightmare. I don't think I can get through there, buddy. You're going to have to move forward. Oh, goodness me. What a way to start off driving a Ferrari FF. 2 big old massive tractors. Oh, this road is so tight, isn't it? So look, this is a big car, right? Nearly 2 meters wide and nearly 5 meters long. However, that is the dimensions of every other car pretty much on the road right now, SUVs. So, in theory, this shouldn't be any more daunting than an SUV. Sure, you're lower to the ground, so the risk in an SUV is simply just curbing a wheel, but in here you might do some bodywork damage. So the mighty FF, with its naturally aspirated 6.3 litre V12, which produces 660 horsepower, 500 pound-foot of torque, and it weighs around 1900 kilograms. Now it is 4-wheel drive, but not in the traditional way, because what Ferrari did, instead of lifting the engine up so that they can split the power between the front and back, they actually developed a power transfer unit, a separate gearbox for the front of the car, which sits in front of the engine. Absolutely incredible. But there'll be more about that PTU later on. So why is this the Ferrari bargain of the decade? Well, when this car was new, this car is a 2012. So in 2012, it's not uncommon for FFs to be spec to around £300,000. So adjusted for inflation in today's diluted pound, that's around £400,000. And what can you buy one for? Well, prices now, I mean, they start from as low as just under 100,000. But you could get yourself a really nice one for £110,000. It's a 75% off sale. Right now, these cars are complete bargains. Now, I know it sounds crazy to say £110,000 car is a complete bargain, but it really is when you consider that this car has got that glorious 6.3 litre V12 sat up front. I cannot believe the price that you can pick these cars up for at the moment. And it's my opinion that it won't be like that for long. Once people realise just truly how special these things are, I can see prices going only one way. So let's talk about the main reasons why. I think up until now, people have been put off of buying a Ferrari FF. I mean, number one was the massive depreciation. It's completely bottomed out. It did so a couple of years ago, and it's rising with inflation now, and I think it's going to go up at some point. The next thing is the looks. But as we've seen today, this is a true practical car without compromise. If they made that roofline a bit more sweeping, just to make it aesthetically more pleasing, it wouldn't be a true four-seater, it'd be a compromised four-seater. I think this is a gorgeous machine in person, but even if you're undecided on it, you've got to look past that. If you're looking for a car which is going to be a dad car, you're going to have children and use it with your family in the back. So the design and looks of this thing is no longer a factor. And so then the final thing, these have a terrible reputation for being unreliable and insanely ruinous to your pocket. And the main culprit for that is that rather unique power transfer unit, the separate gearbox at the front of the car. They do have a terrible, proven reputation for failing and going wrong. And early on, that meant you needed to get a brand new one. So Ferrari would just swap out the gearbox, the PTU, entirely for a brand new one off the shelf at the cost of around £20,000 to £25,000. Now the problem was though, is that there's been people who have changed it for a completely new PTU and the exact same fault has happened on it again. So you're building up a picture as to why these cars have got a bad reputation. So because of this, they've been completely dismissed by so many people. And I can see why. However, now there is a solution. We've got people in...
Daddy, I'll tell you when the tractor's gone.
Yeah, I know. Hopefully it'll take off in a minute. The thing is, I don't really want to overtake him. Because it's too tight. I think it's just too tight.
No, it isn't.
I'm going to try and go for it, alright? Oh god, that was scary. That was absolutely terrifying. Oh god. Right, what was I talking about? I was talking about the PTU, wasn't I? Okay, so but look, the PTU issue has now been solved because we've got some really clever companies in the UK who have solved it. They basically, what they can do is they can rebuild your PTU. They've highlighted what was the failure point. They install uprated parts, refurbish it all, and then it solves it. It solves the issue. They even give you a guarantee for it. And the cost of that should be able to be done for around £10,000. So less than half of the price that it was for a brand new replacement unit, which would then go wrong again. And I'm sure they wouldn't be given a guarantee if it didn't actually solve that issue once and for all.
Shout out to Simon Furlonger of SS Autotech and Parks Performance, the brilliant minds right here in the UK who solved the PTU issue and offer this service.
So obviously I recently drove JM's F12, which is a very similar car to this. I mean, inside the cockpit in here, while I'm driving, the view of that huge bonnet, it feels like I'm driving an F12. It feels pretty much the same. The steering wheel feels a little bit heavier, which, you know, I wasn't really expecting. It's got a bit more weight to it, which I guess sort of, you know, fits the nature of this car as well. But this might be some of the nicest steering I've felt on a car since I owned my Lotus Elise. Obviously, it's completely different sort of steering feel, but oh, it's just absolutely glorious, to be honest. Really confidence-inducing. This just feels so planted, and the damping, I don't know how Ferrari did it. It is just like witchcraft. I said it in the F12 video as well. This puts so many other modern cars, which you would think have absolutely fantastic damping and ride quality, this puts them to shame. This is marvellous. I don't know how they did it. It smooths everything out whilst giving you loads of texture and feedback from the road. I don't know how. It doesn't make any sense. So why is this the ultimate Ferrari and not the GTC Lusso? Well, I don't know. I'd have to try one of those to see. Here's a suggestion for you. If you're thinking of buying a Lusso for £160,000, £170,000, buy one of these instead and then use that £60,000 to take a month off work and then go and drive your Ferrari FF across Europe or something with all of your family, making memories. At the end of that, you will still have the ultimate four-seat dad car Ferrari, but you will have have something even more meaningful than simply, oh yeah, I got the lusso, you know, the newer one, the more powerful one. You'll have the memories of that 4 weeks, you know, driving around, spending time with your family in the car, proper road trip, put some miles on it. I mean, how incredible would that be? I mean, the chances are, if you're looking to buy a Ferrari, you probably worked really, really hard. So when was the last time you took off and really spent some time with your family? So that's my suggestion. Even if you're looking to buy a lusso, just get one of these. That's such a bargain. It's such a bargain. And my prediction is that in 5-10 years' time, I reckon that the FF and the lusso will kind of be around about the same value, whatever that is. Because there are people out there who say that, you know, the lusso was kind of like tweaked and changed and improved based on customer feedback from the people who buy brand new Ferraris. And people who buy brand new Ferraris and don't care about the massive depreciation. You know, a four-seater Ferrari historically have huge depreciation, don't they? So the type of person who buys them new and is given feedback to Ferrari, they probably got 2 or 3 other Ferraris as well. So why do they need their main Ferrari to be, you know, really sort of visceral and feel like proper Ferrari? They probably want a bit more comfort. So I don't know. Look, until I drive a lusso, I can't pass judgment. But I have heard that argument as well. Now, this one is a bit more raw. Right, so running costs then on a car like this. It won't come as any surprise. It's going to be very expensive. Road tax, £630. Insurance, funny enough, this car's owner pays £700 with Admiral. £700. I mean, I was very shocked at that. Miles per gallon, that's the big one, isn't it? I don't think you'll even get into the teens on a run in a Ferrari FF. I reckon you'll get 12 miles per gallon. So yeah, that is a that is a big consideration, I suppose. Servicing costs, well, this car's owner, Dylan, he has serviced it 3 times. And the average cost across those 3 times, averaged out, is around about £1,500 each time. But the big one with the FF has always been the unexpected maintenance bills and the problems, hasn't it? And so I asked Dylan, I said, come on, tell me some juicy stories about when things have gone wrong. And he told me a funny one. He said when he first picked up the car and he drove it back from Wales, he stopped off on the way back and then just spent some time in the car park, sort of with the engine off, all the lights on and everything, just sort of touching everything and sort of looking at it, and like you would when you got yourself a Ferrari. And then when he came to switch it on again, a warning light came up saying 4-wheel drive system failure or something like that on the drive home. And he thought, oh no, the PTU has failed on my first drive home. God, can you imagine the feeling of that? But then what he did is he drove it home. All seemed to be okay, but then by the time he got home, obviously the battery had a bit of a charge by then, so he just thought, oh look, let's just try and switch it on again and just see if it's still there. And fortunately enough, the battery charged up a bit from the rest of the drive home, switched it on, the light was gone, and he's not seen it again. So it's believed that it was something that was triggered by the battery requiring a full charge. And he actually ended up just changing the battery in the end for a new one. And he did it himself, he fitted it himself, that's pretty cool. But that's a big piece of advice that Dylan's got for other Ferrari FF owners. Keep your car on trickle charge. Because much like Aston Martins, like my one, they seem to throw up all sorts of electrical gremlins when the batteries get down low. So just keep it on a C-Tech charger. And it's quite strange actually, because these early FFs, Ferrari must have known that you need to keep this on a C-Tech charger, but they didn't make it easy for you to access it. You had to go into the boot and actually remove a piece of leather trim which was still attached to some electrical cable, and then that's how you would sort of plug it in each time. And it makes no sense. And I think the later cars, they actually fixed it and mounted the charging port on the face of that piece of trim. But what Dylan did, the owner of this car, he was super brave, is he actually cut and modified that panel, cut the Italian leather, and then mounted the charging port on the face of that panel himself. I don't think there's many Ferrari owners who would themselves take a Stanley knife to their precious leather. So the advice for any prospective FF owners out there, if you're looking to buy one, you're worried about the PTU, when you buy it, just check that they've got paperwork showing that it's been refurbished by one of those recognised names. If it has, you can buy in confidence and don't worry about it. If it hasn't, just set aside £10,000. Look, if you're spending 110 on the car, just in your head, say, look, 110 for the car, £10,000, so 120. I'm just going to put that £10,000 aside into an account. If and when the PTU needs rebuilding, I've already spent that money. There you go, it's solved. All the stress and drama is gone. But genuinely though, maintenance-wise, sure, there's going to be other expensive maintenance costs with having a Ferrari FF. There's going to be with owning any Ferrari. I mean, any marquee brand, you know, McLaren, Aston Martin even, Lamborghini obviously. You know, the cost is going to be high. But what you should do is you should expect that. I think the cost of a Ferrari warranty is about £4,000. But what Dylan, the owner of this car, did is he didn't take the Ferrari warranty. He's just been putting £4,000 a year by in an account. I mean, that's built up to £12,000 now. So if his PTU needs doing, he's got the money there to do it. Something else crops up, he's got the money there to do it. That is the way to own a Ferrari. Right, look, coming up to national speed limit now, sweetie. So I'm going to put it into sport. Let's see what it's like acceleration. You ready? Oh, goodness me. I thought for a second I was driving an F12 then. I mean, this really is. I'm so pleased to tell you that I very recently drove an F12. And this is pretty much it. I mean, maybe if I drove the F12 on track and then drove this on track, I might be able to sort of tell you like the subtle differences and how, you know, this is slightly down on power and, you know, a few of the other sort of things that are different between the cars. But for Dadcar use, driving around 60 mile an hour, single lane roads, I don't think you're really going to notice a huge difference. The biggest thing I would say is just the steering feels, it's heavier in here. The steering is heavier and but it's just as nimble. But this is just such lovely steering. The throttle response is incredible. You can modulate it with just the tiniest amount of input, same as the F12. Oh, goodness me, this is just so special. Oh, the sound of that engine as well. It's just incredible. It really sounds like an F1 car from the 90s. Oh, I know £110,000 is a lot of money. I know it is. But it's not a lot of money for this. Everyone is really excited about that M3 Touring, aren't they? And it looks cool, it looks really cool. But you can spec a brand new M3 Touring for the same money that you can buy one of these for today. And if you're watching this and you're thinking, look, Ben, you're stupid. Obviously, the M3 Touring is going to be so much cheaper to run and cheaper on fuel, and you know, it's not comparable. But look, hang on, hear me out. Let's say you bought an M3 Touring, highly spec'd one, for the same amount of money you could buy one of these for, and then I bought one of these. We owned both cars for 5 years, 5,000 miles a year on it, 25,000 miles, and then after 5 years we both sold our cars at whatever they were worth. If you factor in the depreciation on the M3 Touring, because these ain't going to lose a penny. If anything, they'll go up. I reckon it would work out more expensive to have the brand new M3 Touring than a Ferrari, a V12 Ferrari FF that sounds like this. Greatest dad car in the world. Oh, you absolutely are. This is amazing. I absolutely must have one of these. I must have one. God, I really do feel sort of a sense of urgency. One, because I think they're going to go up in price, and two, I want to get one of these before my children are too old so that I can make the memories with them while they're young and they want to spend time with their dad. I just hope I can do it. And it looks to me like Ferrari are no longer making 4-seat cars. Because obviously the Pure Sangue isn't a car, is it? It's an SUV, although I know they don't like it being referred to as that. But it's not a car. Cars and SUVs are different things. So then there's not going to be another one. Naturally aspirated, V12. Sounds like an F1 car. This is it. And they didn't make many of them. 2,000, little over 2,000 they made. There's what, about 200 of them in the UK? How are they only 110,000 pounds? I'm sorry, I know I keep going on about it, but it's incredible. You know, like in life, how they say you can do whatever you want to do. It's kind of true, but you can't choose what you want to do. You discover what you want to do. I think it's similar with cars. You might think you like the idea of a certain car or whatever, but until you experience it, you don't know what car speaks to you. And that's why there's people who just 911 GT products, that's it. Because those are the cars that speak to them. Other people just, it's a hot hatch. Golf GTIs, Civic Type Rs, you know, they're the cars that just get them so excited. And unfortunately for me, Ferraris do it for me. It's very unfortunate because it means I'm going to have to work super, super hard to be able to have one. The engine and the car and the smell and just everything about this car, it vibrates at the same frequency as me. It makes me feel alive. I need to say a massive thank you to Dylan for inviting me up to film this car today. He saw my video on JM's F12 and then reached out and said, look, you've got to do the FF, so I appreciate it so much. Thank you, Dylan. He's got 2 young children. He got this car when his children were 6 and 7, I think. Look, so in summary then, for the Ferrari FF, what makes this car so special is, I think Ferrari made this trying to make the best V12 Ferraris that they could. So they made this and the F12, and the focus was on just making them proper Ferraris and the best proper V12 Ferraris they could make. And then, like, look at them now with the Pure Sangue. That's a car that's been made for the people who buy them. It's not Ferrari just making the best car they possibly can and then saying, look, if you want the best, you'll buy our products. No, they're actually now making cars for customers. That's what customers want. Someone who buys a Pure Sangue has got a couple of other Ferraris already. The only people who will buy a Pure Sangue as their only Ferrari are not petrol heads, they're not car enthusiasts. But this is a proper Ferrari, believe me. Very recently drove an F12, driving it like this, you forget that you've got 2 proper rear seats there. And also this being of a generation, you know, being around, you know, 2012. Like, this is a safe car as well, airbags everywhere. So as a thing you can use with your family. This is the greatest dad car in the world. It absolutely is, and I absolutely must have one. Look, thank you all so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel. Look, come on this journey with me. Is it even possible to grow a YouTube channel in 2023? Is it too late? Look, let's find out. Subscribe. Like this video, comment below, share it with somebody you think will find this interesting, and I'll see you all on the next one. Thank you so much to Dylan again. Bye bye everybody.